asked to give a summary of sorts or a communique on what might be a resolution, what might embody a resolution of the WPF Philippines in regard to this particular conference. So I tried my best. And again, being the last, I found the inspiration in the statements being made by President Igor Kardashian as he spoke of the vision that he had of the WPF, but in a minimum of efficient guarantees. Most important was the idea that the raison d'etre, the reason for its existence, the identity of this new alliance of community of nation states could never be only for self-preservation. It would be morally justified if it realized ideas and principles which had a higher unifying purpose than just survival of themselves. Such principles exist in the Treaty of 1648. Some were expressed for the first time in history. These negotiations lasted for 4 years. In the end, the Protestants, Catholics, monarchies, republican forms of government were treated as having equal status in the negotiations on the treaty. The peace treaty defined the principles of sovereignty and equality in numerous subcontracts, and in this way became the constitution of a new system of states. Cardinal Mazarin, as the leader of France, the ascendant nation among others, is credited with initiating a move towards peace, the guarantees of independence, recognition of sovereignty, the cessation of hostilities, and forgiveness of damages done to life and properties were the result of the principle laid down by the leaders of the nations. And to paraphrase the portion of that historical document, it reads, Article 1 of the Peace Treaty states, I quote, "And this peace must be so honest and seriously guarded and nourished that each part furthers the advantage, honor, and benefit of the other, and that both forms, from the side of the entire Roman Reich and the Kingdom of France, as well as the other way around, from the Kingdom of France with the Roman Reich, a faithful neighborhood should be renewed and flourish for peace and friendship and flourish again." The agreement called for the principle of the advantage of the other, which meant all proposals coming from every country involved must be to the advantage of the other. This is a very precious idea. It is essential to have peace. It is the idea of Nicholas of Cusa, who had in the 15th century that said that peace in the microcosm is only possible when you have the development of all microcosms. You can only have peace among different nations if each nation develops itself fully and regards as its self-interest to develop the others fully as well. The Treaty of the Peace of Westphalia states that peace is the highest goal of the community states. It was the first time that the framework was created where a different principle from that of the limitless right of the victorious party was implemented. The principle of might is right. This was a gigantic step forward in international law, where might is not right, and the stronger should not necessarily prevail. The present ongoing dispute here in Southeast Asia, particularly the South China Sea and the West Philippine Sea, is a case which we believe may find resolution among the principles I have described above. Ideally, the Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte may consider convening the 10 ASEAN countries to propose to all countries involved the very principles which have found acceptance in Europe in 1648 Treaty of Westphalia. Consider the following. First, that China and the 10 member nations of the ASEAN may convene into a non-aggression treaty and committing to a mutually beneficial agreement of exploiting the resources of the disputed waters. Second, guarantee the freedom of navigation to all commercial and military vessels intending to use the Straits of Malacca, going to and from their own respective destinations. Third, to encourage the construction of the Kra Canal in Thailand in order to decongest the Malacca Straits and provide all countries with an alternative route for benefit of all populations. Fourth, a demilitarization of the South China Sea and West Philippine Sea. The whole Southeast Asia should ban military bases for nuclear weapons. Fifth, for China and the ASEAN countries to propose assistance to the United States in rebuilding its infrastructure, which is now deteriorating. Requirements, especially a network of fast rail systems and accommodation of mutually beneficial demands of fair trade. No less than the renowned philosopher Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, in his Ethics, Law and Civilization in 1693, in reference to the Peace of Westphalia principles, said that charity is universal benevolence, and benevolence is the habit of loving. Moreover, to love is to take delight in the happiness of another, or what amounts to the same thing. It is to regard another's happiness as one's own. End of quote. We all must realize that China Sea dispute is not merely a Philippines-China problem. It in fact has global security implications, just as in many other regional disputes. It is not enough that a treaty be signed by the parties without efficient assurances that all will abide. It is also difficult to enforce where leaders change and so made their motivations. But what will bind the countries more must necessarily include the beneficial effect on all their populations, an economic order which assures development and prosperity for all. Working towards peace in Europe, Cardinal Mazarin and Jean-Baptiste Colbert closely studied the river systems in the ending view of enhancing commerce and economic activity between the North and Southern Europe. The rivers Rhine, the Vistula, Oder, the Elbe, Weser, and the Ems. These rivers were being used as territorial boundaries. Instead, he sought to make them as economic corridors to enhance development and communication. Mazarin understood that peace among nations must necessarily include a collaboration towards the prosperity of all if it is to last. Today, what better manifestation of this principle can be understood in the promotion of a historic effort by man, now committed to by 130 countries, to implement the One Belt, One Road project, now known as the Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to construct economic corridors of high-tech, fast rail systems which connects all 7 continents of the world by land. We will soon be able to travel around the world by land and transport cargo by land on a transportation system which can travel up to 1,000 miles per hour. The impact on the world commerce with this facility is obvious. Another great historical project of this century that continues to give us hope, which is ongoing and has enjoined all the superpowers, is the Moon-Mars project. The collaborative efforts of the US, China, Russia, India, including Japan, France, and Germany, are planning to land a team of astronaut engineers and scientists on the moon, construct a base station, and use the same to launch another team for man to land in Mars. The stated moon landing goal is 2025. It is highly possible that before the decade is over, man will be well on its way towards realizing a collective effort in making another giant leap for mankind towards the colonization of Mars. Then, as now, mankind is at a crossroads. One path leads to war, despair, and destruction. The other leads to hope, prosperity, and development for the coming generations. With the powers given to us by our Creator, there are no limits to growth. As history has taught us, if we are motivated by the common good and act benevolently to the advantage of the other, we will learn to use our rivers and our oceans and even outer space not as territorial boundaries, but rather as corridors for commerce, economic, and scientific activity to enhance the quality of life of all human beings on this planet. It is my fervent hope that we, citizens of the world, patriots of our respective countries, use this defining historical moment to be the spark that ignites the spirit of a new world renaissance. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Butch Valdes. Maraming salamat po. That's how you end a very fruitful discussion tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valdes. But we still have one last person to call for closing remarks. So we'd like to call on Professor Aurelio and Iranzo, please.